180 nautical miles off Greenland in the GIUK Gap, a U.S. Navy P-8. Poseidon shadows a Russian Beret-class nuclear submarine as the Arctic suddenly turns hostile. A violent 100-knot wind shear hits the aircraft, and for 12 agonizing seconds, its APY-10 radar goes dark. In that brief silence, two Russian Su-35 flankers burst out of the mist, slicing dangerously close to the Poseidon's nose and filling the cockpit with electronic interference. From Moscow's point of view, NATO's eyes have just been shut, and the route into the Atlantic looks open. The Americans appear to be backing away, but as the flankers press closer, one unsettling question remains. Is the P-8A really the vulnerable target, or has Russia stepped into a trap it never saw coming? Over the next 15 minutes, this tense contest reshapes the balance of power in the Arctic and reveals why, in the GIUK Gap, the most dangerous threats are often the ones you never hear. The line is gone, the sensors are overloaded, and the battle for the Atlantic begins now. Modern conflict is no longer decided only on maps. It plays out through acoustic waterfall displays, radar warning receivers, and split-second tactical decisions. In the frozen emptiness of the GIUK Gap, victory does not always belong to the side that acts first. It often belongs to the side that stays calm the longest. This is not a random encounter. It is a high-stakes strategic duel between NATO's integrated surveillance network and one of Russia's most advanced nuclear assets. The P-8A Poseidon, callsign Foxtrot 7, is far more than a maritime patrol aircraft. It is a mobile sensor hub, the command node of an invisible web built to turn the Atlantic Gateway into one of the most heavily monitored corridors on Earth. Beneath the surface, the SOSUS network, a vast seabed array of underwater microphones, never rests. Every mechanical click, every cooling pump, every steady vibration from a Russian Beret-class submarine is logged in a digital archive built over decades. The Poseidon's role is precision, deploying sonobuoys to isolate and confirm the exact acoustic signature of the submarine below. Hidden in the North Atlantic haze, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer waits in total electronic silence, operating under strict emissions control. Its Spy 6 radar is dark, its radio's quiet, and its crew is waiting for one thing only: a brief data burst from the Poseidon that can transform silence into advantage. This is the cold logic of modern naval warfare, a patient platform holding fire until the network completes the picture. If you were in command, would you keep the Spy 6 dark or risk everything by going active? Moscow has its own strategy. The Beret-class submarine is a crown jewel of the Northern Fleet, carrying enough Bulava warheads to alter the global balance in minutes. Although it could launch from the relative safety of the Barents Sea, the Kremlin sends it toward the GIUK Gap for another reason: to test the barrier. Russia wants to know whether it can still slip into the deep Atlantic without being detected. Do you think Russia's undersea forces can still outrun NATO's digital ears? If yes, comment 1. If not, comment 2. To shield this strategic asset, Russia sends muscle: 2 Su-35 Flanker E fighters. Their mission is not to fire, it is to intimidate. They tear past the American aircraft at close range using speed, proximity, and electronic noise to pressure the crew off station. It is a psychological operation in the sky. Moscow wants NATO to make a choice: back off and leave the corridor open, or hold position and risk a dangerous incident. Below the surface, the pressure continues. Russian autonomous underwater vehicles move like acoustic decoys, attempting to distort the submarine's signature and confuse NATO's sonar picture. Every layer of the engagement is designed to create uncertainty. Moscow believes the pressure will work. If the Poseidon loses radar contact and is forced away, then the U.S. Navy becomes blind at the critical moment. What Russia is about to learn is that NATO's most powerful advantage is not a single aircraft, ship, or sensor. It is the network itself. Then the Arctic delivers its blow. A sudden burst of 100-knot wind shear slams into Foxtrot 7, knocking the P-8A off its path and breaking the APY-10's lock on the Beret-class submarine for 12 tense seconds. The display goes flat. This is the opening Moscow has been waiting for. Sensing the moment, the 2 Su-35s descend through the cloud layer with their radars pushing maximum power, flooding the American cockpit with electromagnetic noise. This is no ordinary intercept. It is an attempt to isolate the Poseidon, sever its awareness, and overwhelm its ability to coordinate. But in the GIUK Gap, the U.S. Navy does not rely on one sensor. While the Russian pilots believe they have blinded their target, the Poseidon crew makes a disciplined transition. Active emitters are reduced. Passive systems take over. Foxtrot 7 stops looking outward and starts listening deeper. The SOSUS array beneath the sea has missed nothing. The Beret-class submarine is still there, its mechanical signature still distinct in the cold Atlantic water. The Russians think they have created stealth. In reality, they have moved into a three-dimensional tracking envelope already assembled around them. The Poseidon does not react emotionally. It coordinates. Using a low probability of intercept burst transmission, Foxtrot 7 sends the submarine's refined position to the Arleigh Burke destroyer, waiting 50 miles away. This is offboard targeting at its most efficient. The destroyer remains silent, but now it has exactly what it needs: a clean firing quality track for anti-submarine action if required. The Su-35 pilots focused on pressuring the Poseidon do not realize they are now inside a larger tactical picture that is moving faster than they can interpret. Then comes the signal that changes the entire atmosphere. At 15:05, the Arleigh Burke briefly activates its Aegis radar for only 3 seconds. That short pulse is enough. The Su-35 cockpit displays suddenly light up with a clear message. They are being tracked. No missile launch is necessary. The radar pulse says everything. We see you. We have your position. The advantage has changed hands. The effect is immediate. What began as aggressive posturing now feels like exposure. Under the surface, the Beret-class captain senses the same shift. Passive contacts are no longer searching randomly. They are following him with precision. The GIUK gap no longer feels like a route. It feels like a net. He is forced into an escape profile, diving into deeper Atlantic waters in an attempt to complicate the tracking geometry and break away from the developing containment zone. Above, the Su-35s turn off, low on fuel, and stripped of the confidence they had minutes earlier. Every second spent harassing the Poseidon has also been a second spent broadcasting their own presence to a much larger NATO system. Foxtrot 7 regains stability, deploys another line of sonobuoys, and resumes the hunt as if the interruption never happened. Moscow has not lost a ship, but it has lost the initiative. NATO has not fired a shot, yet it controls the silence. The Atlantic remains under NATO watch, and the Northern Fleet has just been reminded that in the Arctic, the most unsettling shadows may be the ones carrying an American flag. The exposure of Russia's most advanced nuclear platform in the GIUK gap is not simply a matter of chance. It highlights a deeper structural gap that Moscow is struggling to close. Under a renewed doctrine of strength coming out of Washington, the U.S. Navy has shifted from observing Russian movement to actively shaping the battle space around it. To understand why the Beret-class submarine and its flanker escort came up short, you have to understand the modern Arctic for what it has become. A transparent battle space where American innovation is systematically challenging Russia's attempts to project strength. While the Kremlin continues to use its nuclear fleet as a symbol of strategic leverage, the U.S. Navy's integrated systems treat these high-value submarines less like untouchable assets and more like trackable objects moving through a monitored environment. Every pump cycle, every valve shift, every distinct harmonic from a Russian propeller is fed into a growing acoustic database, updated in near real time. The P-8 Poseidon sensors are so refined that even a minor mechanical irregularity can stand out across long distances. In the quiet of the deep ocean, that kind of signature becomes difficult to hide. Although this scenario is presented as a high-stakes fictional simulation of Arctic warfare, the tactical logic behind it reflects a real-world truth. The decisive advantage belongs to the side that can connect information fastest and act on it cleanly. That is the essence of network-centric warfare, and it is where the United States holds a major edge. Russia continues to invest in individual heavy platforms such as the Su-35 or the Boré hull itself. The United States, by contrast, has built an integrated architecture in which every sensor, aircraft, ship, and node contributes to one shared operational picture. With Finland and Sweden now inside NATO, the Arctic has become even harder for Russia to navigate unnoticed. SOSUS provides the ears. The P-8A provides mobility and localization. The Arleigh Burke provides precision and pressure. When the flankers tried to push the Poseidon off station, they were not confronting a lone patrol aircraft. They were challenging a multi-layered system with reach, memory, and coordination. Moscow's long reliance on intimidation and gray zone pressure has collided with a digital wall. Russian doctrine often assumes that close harassment can carve out temporary sanctuaries for its strategic fleet. In the GIUK gap, that assumption breaks down. Aggressive behavior only makes the entire network pay closer attention. By forcing the Su-35s to light up their radars and reveal themselves, NATO gains more than positional awareness. It gathers real signal data, valuable patterns, and electronic fingerprints that can be used to refine future tracking and response. What looks like intimidation in the moment can become intelligence in the archive. In that sense, the Russian pilots did not just fail to move the Poseidon. They helped NATO sharpen its own system for the next encounter. And that may be the clearest message of all. A submarine carrying enough firepower to change the course of history was reduced to a monitored target by software, sensors, discipline, and a network that never truly sleeps. This is more than a tactical win. It is a strategic statement. In the dark, freezing waters of the Arctic, Russia may still possess formidable missiles, but the US Navy and NATO hold the advantage in detection, coordination, and control of the wider picture. The Hunter was never really in control. It was a target waiting for the network to close around it. Do you think the US Navy's technological edge remains the ultimate deterrent in the Arctic? If you support the silent watch over the GIUK gap, hit like and let us know in the comments by typing Arctic Shield. Your support helps us keep bringing you these intense maritime briefings. Subscribe to Navy Vector and turn on notifications so you never miss the next mission. The board is set, the sensors are watching, and we'll see you on the next deck. Go Navy!